Conversation Station,
where we believe that everyone has a remarkable story to share.
Join us as we dive into the lives of ordinary people with extraordinary tales.
Everyday experiences to life-changing moments.
Get ready to be inspired, entertained, and moved by the incredible stories that surround us.
We're your hosts,
Kayla Maxwell.
Jake Pingree,
Keaton Helquist.
I'm Matt Baroka.
Thanks for joining us as we appreciate and learn from individuals
one conversation at a time. Welcome back to the Conversation Station podcast, where we help you elevation your every relation. I don't know if they want me to say that or not, but today we're meeting with Matthew Hansen. Matthew, tell us a little bit about yourself. Today you're meeting with Ketosis and myself, Jake.
Yeah, I'm just a good friend of both you guys, and I'm here to talk about happiness today.
Oh, absolutely. And who better to bring in that topic than Matthew Hansen himself? Tell us what,
Just that
what
smile.
turns you to that topic.
Brings me happiness.
What gets your gears going on the topic of happiness?
I feel like it's relevant to everyone, you know? That's the reason we're here. We're all trying to be happy. So
That's
I
the
have
reason we're
spent
here.
a lot of time trying to figure that out.
Wow. Elaborate on that. That's the reason we're here.
And before he does that, Matthew's one of the happiest people that I know. I don't know about you, Keaton.
Absolutely.
Stop. There's going to be all
Hands
this
down.
pressure of like, I have to smile or like...
No, it's not
No,
just
no,
about
no.
smiling. It's about
It's real.
making people feel good about life.
You can
The way
cry.
You talk about the things you experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more than just having a big old grin that hides pain, you know?
True. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've tried to find happiness a lot of places, and I've learned firsthand how it doesn't come from like the outside, and I've had to find it inside myself, like I think many people do. So that's kind of the most fundamental thing I've learned about happiness.
Tell us about what are some of those experiences. You said happiness doesn't come from the outside, it comes from within. What kind of experiences, what's your background you're coming from that led to that kind of philosophy you developed?
Well, I mean, being raised in the church,
What church?
like my friends, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the church.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I feel like you're taught, I mean, President Nelson beautifully worded it, that joy is all about our focus and not our circumstance. And I feel like I've just learned that over and over through my teenage years and trying to reach for it in girls or distractions or sleep and like junk food. I don't know. There's so many things I've kind of reached for to kind of like feel good in the moment, but it never lasts until it's coming from inside.
Wow.
Yeah.
At what moment do you feel like you look for happiness in a variation of places? We all do. For short-term happiness and long-term happiness. What was the switch for you that helped you look for longer-lasting happiness versus like things like junk food
Band-Aids over
and
bullet
whatnot?
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Band-Aid on a bullet hole. Thank you, Keith.
Yeah. Morgan Wallen.
And Morgan.
Shout out Morgan.
I feel like you just start to get like, at least for me, I started to feel like sick. Like once you get sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, then you're like, okay, hopefully there's something better that can actually like sustain me. Because I mean, for example, I used to be like 250 pounds in high school. You remember?
Believe it or not, I wouldn't if I hadn't been there.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I was
Beautiful.
a chunker. Nothing wrong with that. You know, it's important to just be healthy and be happy with who you are.
Can
But
I tell the Little Caesar story real quick?
go for it. Yeah.
Dude used to put down a whole Little Caesars pizza one sitting, and like no disrespect to anybody that currently can and still does that. Like more power to you.
I still do that. Just let the record show. I can still do that.
This man on the regular is just so it was like a personality trait at that phase of life. Am I right?
Yeah, it was.
Correct me on anything I misspoke on.
No, it was a habit. I mean, at my biggest, I could eat 2.5 pizzas. on
Two and a
my-
half Little Caesars?
Oh, yo.
Could put it down.
That's
Can we
wild.
get a time? I want a time frame. How long do you think that
You
would
got
take
Joey Chestnut.
Not
bro.
not long. Like
Joey's
that
the real
was just-
goat. Joey's the real goat.
Joey.
that was just a meal.
I love that.
That's what it took
Okay.
to satisfy me. But yeah, I got to like about 250 pounds, and I was like, man, I kind of feel like garbage. So I was like, maybe I should stop looking for pizza and Oreos to make me like get through the day. Maybe there's something better to kind of help me feel healthy and happy. And so that was like one of the more basic times that I really looked for something better than the habits that I had then. So yeah, that was one of the moments I kind of shifted.
Yeah. So you changed your diet, right? What other changes in your life do you feel like helped you center with important things that were bringing you true and lasting happiness, not these superficial?
Or is it
kind of
just
Band-Aids?
diet?
Or was it? Yeah,
I would
maybe it
think-
was
I would
just
think
diet,
not.
you know?
Diet's huge. I feel like for a lot of people, that's where it starts. I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs say that like they started taking their health serious and like it helped them in business, relationships, all the other kind of avenues of life. And I feel like for me, I've just noticed how much our body and our spirit like have in common. And so I feel like a lot of the same principles that have made me feel healthy and like really happy physically have made me happy spiritually. Like the same diet of eating healthy for my body, when I eat healthy spiritually and when I put the right things in my mind, then that also helps me to have like joy, because I don't have a bunch of garbage floating around in my head. I don't know, you guys can probably relate.
Oh, definitely. I was thinking right when he said that, I just had this self-reflection of I need to eat healthier. I feel like...
Shut up, Jake. You're like the fittest dude in the room.
No, definitely not. I've eaten oatmeal today. That's it. I just don't eat enough,
Complex
to be honest.
Complex carbs.
Very complex. Oatmeal. What
I'm interested, Matthew. You mentioned joy. You were like, it brings me joy, and that's distinct from happiness, in my opinion. How do you find joy separate from this happiness we've been kind of talking about, or maybe they're the same?
No, yeah, I feel like joy and happiness can definitely mean the same thing.
Yeah.
But I've heard it in the church, and sometimes just other people have said they've kind of defined them different, as far as like maybe joy is long lasting and happiness is short term. Like you eat a pizza and you feel happy versus like you eat chicken and vegetables and you lose some weight and you feel long lasting joy. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
I feel like just the time, I feel like that's something, there's a quote that I've heard about how discipline, you can choose between discipline or regret, but discipline weighs ounces and regret weighs pounds.
Huh.
Or it's the pain of discipline or the pain of regret.
Totally.
And so I feel like that's the difference between kind of just like giving in. And Olivia said, my girlfriend Olivia, she says, don't feed the pig. And that's personal instant gratification.
Wow.
And so when you feed the instant gratification,
Olivia.
you usually have regret and you kind of feel like garbage. Versus when you discipline yourself, you kind of align yourself with a higher purpose and make kind of the hard, good choices, then you have a lot more joy. I think you have a lot more long-lasting, good feelings. I've experienced that.
So how do you, like, thinking realistically, not that that's...
Everything you just said is completely
I've been thinking
unrealistic.
unrealistic the whole time.
Personally, when I eat a candy bar, I love it, right? And I don't feel very good like 10 minutes later, but in the moment it's very good. And then when I eat a head of broccoli or chicken and rice, not all the time am I like, wow, that was good. But it's something that kind of changes me from the inside out. And there's so many things like you've been talking about that do that same thing. How do you measure that? How do you measure that personal growth in your life?
That's a good question. I feel like, I think it is most important to like give it time. I think all good things take time.
Totally.
And so in the moment, yeah, it's kind of like no competition. If you're comparing how it feels to eat a candy bar versus some broccoli, you know, the candy bar wins. But
Every time.
Every
Or
time.
not every... Keep going.
It doesn't
Yeah.
every time.
Keep going.
Oh
This
yeah,
year.
I think time is the big difference. Is when you actually give it more than that moment, and you look. I think it's about looking at how your future self is benefited or not by certain decisions. I think sometimes I've gotten carried away and just like indulging myself in the moment, and then my future self pays for it. And so I think a good, balanced life both helps you feel good now and in the future.
Wow.
So,
Totally.
I love that that's a process throughout your life. Like, I would assume that it's not something that happens right overnight, just like this mindset change, but it's like a conscious effort to like reflect on what's happened, kind of reset yourself and move forward. And it's not something that, like, us as humans, as individuals, we don't change overnight. We don't change everything about ourselves, but it's through the discipline, it's through the trial and error, I guess, that helps us grow. So I love that.
Totally. I've got one more question for you. What would you say to people? I guess I'll give a little bit of context to this. We're talking a lot about these instant rewards and gratifications, things that give you a temporary
Story
boost.
of my life, Keaton. Story of my life.
Temporary boost in pleasure, little dopamine spike, whatever it may be. But a lot of people may be in a position where they've come to rely on these mechanisms, right? They look forward to coming home and, I don't know, having a piece of chocolate cake, whatever the ritual or the practice may be of these personal instant gratification type habits.
right.
What would you say to people that have developed a dependency upon these and recognize that but want to change?
Yeah.
Someone like me.
It's funny to even be on here because it's like, I don't have any qualifications to speak about it.
That's the point of this podcast.
Your personal experiences, bro.
Like, I know, yeah, we're all in this together. I love it. So, like, I can only talk about how I'm also doing what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
We're all trying to be
Perfect.
better, right? We're all trying to be the best we can. And so, I think that's a hard transition. The thing that comes to mind is, have you guys seen that picture of Jesus? And
Rise and grind.
quick shout out. Can they see this on the
They
camera?
can't see that on the camera. Give it a nice.
So
yeah, there you go.
for those who are listening on Apple Music, Spotify, and
Shout out
other
to Shafid,
sources,
Steve.
Yeah, for all our
Shitty
listeners
Steve.
out there, be
That's how
sure
I
to
bought-
check out the
where I-
YouTube.
where I bought this
he's wearing a
shirt.
rise and grind shirt with Christ grinding on a rail on a skateboard. Anyways,
What was I saying?
Picture of
Oh,
Jesus.
picture of Jesus. It's like him, there's a little girl, and she's like, I don't want to give up my raggedy teddy bear. And he's like, come on, just trust me. And you can see behind his back, he's got this brand new, bigger teddy bear that you would assume would make her way happier. And so I feel like we all get to those point where we have like our habits that we trust. We're like, no,
Definitely.
like I've had these coping mechanisms for so long that have helped me deal with stress. And just to trust that, like, making changes in your life and trying healthier ways of dealing with stress or whatever it might be going on, you have to trust that there is greater happiness on the other side of those fears or maybe those doubts from changing. That change is hard.
Yeah.
I've definitely experienced how it takes some faith to go from what you've always known to kind of a new way of life. But usually, if you're, trying to do what people say is better, then you're going to experience a lot more quality of life as you trade your old habits for kind of the healthier ones.
Invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself, self-love.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that so much.
what changed your perception of yourself to make these changes in your life? Because you said self-love. How does self-love and your perception of yourself play into that?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
Has your perception of yourself changed
That's
as you
two
made these
good questions. From
dietary lifestyle changes? Tell us about the whole story there.
Yeah, it has. I feel like everyone has to, at some point, kind of like look at their narrative, kind of the story they tell themselves about who they are, what they can become, kind of the limits they have placed on themselves. Because this is a good quote that you both might have heard. It says, "We question our beliefs except for the things we really believe or the things we never think to question." And so I feel like at some point everyone has to sort of wake up and like take a hard look at what beliefs they have and where they came from, and what limitations they may have set for themselves that we didn't even realize. Like maybe our parents had certain beliefs, or just our peers have kind of ingrained things in us about who we are, what we can achieve. I think how many times we hear something about ourselves or about the world, sometimes we just accept it. Like, oh, my whole life, people told me I was dumb, or I can't sing, or I'm overweight, and it's like, have we just taken those things and let them define us, or have we challenged it and written down the story that we actually want for ourselves? So I don't know, I feel like my mission, my LDS mission, helped me to have that time where I was finally kind of like away from my friends. I didn't have access to the same distractions I did growing up, and I just took a hard look at like, what do I believe about myself, and what do I want out of life, and something about being on a mission. You guys might have also experienced, like, you kind of have this freedom almost from the world. Like you almost feel like you kind of have a bird's eye view, and I feel like that gave me the confidence to really shoot for the stars and be like, hey, when I get home, like, I want to go for it all. I want to see how much I can truly do and push the limits of who I am. And I feel like everyone has to do that at some point in order to have the best life that you can have. I feel like you really want to, at some point, just think about and maybe write down who you are and what you expect from your life.
Wow.
So,
I love that.
Oh my goodness.
You made me think about, it's funny that you use the word freedom, because on a mission, you live by a very strict, would you say,
Definitely.
set of rules. There's like a handbook, and it's like, it tells you what time you need to wake up, what time you need to go to bed, like how much you need to study, how much you're out doing this or that, how long you can eat. So what from that experience, like that sounds like no freedom to me. Where's that connection, that bridge to that freedom and that change of perspective?
Well, they say like discipline equals freedom. So I feel like maybe I wouldn't live the same way that the mission had me live ever again.
Totally fair.
Amen.
Completely fair.
Pieces of it, like waking up early and like exercising and reading, studying out of a good book, like all of those little things. And I feel like also, for me, I had completely different tools than I had in high school. In high school, you know, you had your friends, video games, like junk food. You had, I mean, I'm sure you guys might have had different tools, but for me, like I didn't have the best tools in high school. I was just trying to like figure out.
I had oatmeal.
Yeah.
I want to share that.
Yeah. I wish I would have used like the gym and eating healthy and like more of those healthy tools, but I think a lot of the time I just used what was easy.
You're not giving yourself credit. You played football. You grinded.
Yeah, oh, that helped me a ton. I'm
Dog's a
involved.
unit.
You started a club for kids with special needs. Dude.
I did.
You were doing a lot of good things
I
at the same
did.
time.
Yeah, I did good things. I think compared to who I am now, I wish I can just see a difference of
Yeah.
how much
Yeah.
I used
Yeah.
kind of positive
Totally.
tools. But
Makes sense.
yeah, I think, what was the question? I forgot.
Oh, no, you answered it, and you've elaborated more. But I love that you are somebody who's like this change in your life has changed the way that you view others, the way that you view the world, the way that you view yourself. And sometimes you don't give yourself credit. It seems like for what you do, what you've accomplished, and how, I don't know, like how do you view the past, the present, and the future openly and optimistically?
I don't know. I feel like, thank you for saying that. I appreciate you giving me.
Dude.
I feel like that's hard for everyone.
Matthew's like,
Well deserved.
he's hard on himself, but he's hands down, like you can feel it when you're around him. Just has the greatest heart and just goes and takes action.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something I had a hard time with earlier in life is like taking compliments even. I feel like I used to have a hard time with that because in my head I was like, I don't think I'm that great. Or like I had like these immediate, there's a guy I like, do you guys know Jim Quick?
Yeah.
No.
You know?
You directed me to him not too long ago.
Yeah, I think he's like Asian Jesus. 'Cause he's
How
like
are you, Jim?
He's a beast. He had a really serious brain disorder, and he like overcame it and became a really intelligent, I guess, mentor or like life coach. And he talks about these things called ants. They're automatic negative thoughts that a lot of us have, and we just have to be aware of that because I feel like our self-talk is huge, and I know people say that all the time, but like really. Our brain doesn't, I heard from research or some science guy, or it might have been Jim, our brain doesn't know the difference between, or our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between if something, when we make a joke or something, it doesn't know if it's real or not. So like, if we're gonna joke about, oh, like I'm so ugly, like I hate that I'm bad at sports or whatever, like our brain thinks that's real. And so it can, the things we want to joke about is, man, I'm the hottest thing ever. Like if you're going to joke about something, you don't want to be cocky, but joke about how you're good and about how you're like worthy. Because a lot of us just have this default of like negativity. If you're not actively trying to create like a good environment upstairs, you're naturally just going to have negativity, probably fear, and just, it's something to be aware of. I don't know. I think it takes active effort to really have a good garden in your mind.
No, I love how you called it a garden, because it takes effort, it takes care, it takes gentleness, it takes nurturing to get that garden to grow, especially in the way you want. And it's not that you're making that garden grow, the garden is growing, but you're feeding it the right things in order for it to grow in the right kind of an environment. I'm very curious here, how do you feel your experiences with seeing yourself in the past, where you are now, how does that play into your interactions with others, especially people you might not understand or agree with at the beginning?
Yeah, I've had a lot of mental health challenges, and I feel like that has it's humbled me a ton. I feel like now, like, because you can't see it, right? When someone has mental health issues, it's not always obvious. Sometimes it is. Kind of the crazy homeless person on the street. You can tell they're having a full-on conversation with themselves. You're like, okay,
Conversation station with
yeah.
themselves.
You're like, oh yeah, they probably have a little something going on upstairs. But as far as the challenges I had, for the most part, you couldn't see them. And so I feel like more and more commonly, like just in our generation, we have these invisible battles almost, where like people are just going through it or really having a hard time, and you can't always see it. And so it's a reminder to me that like everyone has something, everyone has demons, everyone has challenges, and so I guess just even the most basic thing is help me have more compassion and just love in general, because we all have a battle, and so you don't have to. It helps me not be as worried about like who has more. I'm jealous of like this person because it seems like they have more than me, because I'm like, you know what? No matter what, I know that we can all have these trials that are not always obvious. You can look on Instagram and maybe it seems like someone has a perfect life, and you have no idea what they have been through to get there, and you just see like the moments of their life where they do have maybe better times. So, just compassion, I think.
I love that.
I love that. You really see people for more than just how they present, but for the factors that might be playing into the ways that they may be responding to something irrationally or in a way that doesn't make sense to you. You're seeing people for more than just the surface level. And I think that is a remarkable trait and skill that improves society, truly. Thank you for that.
I feel like not only does it change your interactions with these people, but like that example that like when I'm around you, I feel happier naturally. Not because you're treating me nicer, but like almost because you treat others nicer. Like,
It's-
this is, hey,
me too.
honestly,
For real.
so real. And it's one of the most contagious things.
Mhm.
Just like when we really come to terms with who we are, kind of,
Mhm.
where we came from, what we're doing here, and recognize that none of us are perfect.
Mhm.
And just link arms and just take it on together.
Mhm.
I love that.
Can I share one of my favorite Matthew Hansen stories?
Please.
Matthew, do I have your permission to share the In-N-Out homeless person story?
It's my favorite story. I don't know it
I don't
actually.
even know what you're talking about.
Really?
I have no idea. Go ahead.
So, correct me if the details come to mind and I'm telling it totally wrong. Please jump in.
Mhm.
I just remember this was about 2 years ago, and I'm calling Matthew just to hang out or whatever, and he's like, he tells me that he just barely picked up a person who was experiencing homelessness on the side of the road and just took them to In-N-Out and just had a burger with them, and or maybe you paid for their meal, something to the effect where you offered them a ride. And you took them in your car to go get food or something, and then you brought them to a safe place. And I just remember being so completely humbled by the fact that you would stop for the person, first of all. You would speak to them and understand what they were going through and take the time to understand their problems. And you offered a solution, and you personally followed through with carrying out that solution. So I'm just completely, that was a prime moment where I was like, Matthew, that was cool. And this was years ago, so it was that impressive to me that it's something that I still think about when I see you being kind to people and reaching out to others that are different. Like, that is peak humanity, in my opinion. So
Thanks, bro. It was Chick-fil-A.
it was Chick-fil-A.
But yeah.
Okay.
Can you start that story over?
Yeah, can you start again?
Really quick.
So,
Yeah, I feel like my mission. So it's funny because I used to have like even a little bit of OCD or like germaphobe problem in high school. Like I definitely
He's a
washed
very
my
clean person.
yeah, I washed my hands a little too much, and like I just didn't want to get like an STD or something. I don't know. No, not really. Fair.
I mean, fair.
Like,
From all those DAP.
I assumed the worst from like any germs in like public places, like public toilets,
Uh-huh.
or like even the handle at the gas station. I would just assume somehow I would get like a disease.
Oh, I still
know.
don't mess with a public bathroom handle.
Yeah.
I
Use your
wipe.
foot.
Oh yeah.
You kick in.
Do the old paper towel grab, throw it and run.
Yeah.
The old dance.
Yeah.
It's effective.
It
It's
is.
effective.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I still love germs, but like on my mission, I met so many homeless people.
Where did you serve? again?
Virginia,
Virginia. What mission in Virginia?
Richmond.
Awesome.
Yeah, so probably in the capital, in downtown Richmond, there was the most homeless people. And so we would just be biking around, and then some guy would say, "Hey, I got a Jesus rap. Can I just spit it for you guys?" And we'd be like, "Oh, it was actually good." And then, he'd dap us up. And you'd just be like, "Great. There's nowhere to wash my hands. I'm just gonna
I
keep
love
going."
that.
So I kind of just it got me to the point where I didn't judge people as harshly. I feel like a lot of those maybe irrational fears about how certain people who look a certain way might be dirty or maybe they do have germs, but I don't know, it definitely did make me, I had more love than the fear that I used to have. I think the love overpowered the fear. So then I did have a couple experiences since then where I've always tried to be more loving
Yeah.
to whoever.
Yeah.
So
And I love that you fought to overcome that kind of stigma through experiencing things with these people, through seeking out interactions
Mhm.
with these people that
it
there's a barrier with.
it just happened because the mission, you have this purpose and this mindset that
Yeah.
you're just the gospel is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it rewired my priorities or maybe how my brain
Totally.
used to think.
Wow.
I think so many times when we have tough times or struggles in our lives, mentally or physically or anything, we tend to look inwards. And through all of these experiences that you're sharing, this growth, this change in your perspective towards others, even, it's when you've looked outwards that you kind of were able to take a seat back, reassess where you are,
Mhm.
and as a result, not only are you doing good for others, but yourself grows tenfold from that change in perspective and that looking outwards rather than inwards.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so true. I feel like I didn't experience the scripture until more recent years of like how you lose yourself, you find yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that whole outward thing, like somehow, because everyone wants to make the most of themselves. Everyone wants to reach your full potential, but like sometimes we think we have to do that by just focusing so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's such like a, not contradictory. What is like one of those things that is like the opposite?
Yeah.
Keaton's the word guy.
Dichotomy.
Yeah, it's a dichotomy.
Like I said, Keaton's the word guy.
Human encyclopedia. Yeah, I think it's so funny that you focus outwards and you actually become the most. And that's a balance. I mean, obviously you have to focus on yourself a little bit, but I think having your heart turned out is what enables you to also have the most benefit. So
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Matthew, we've talked today about happiness. We've talked about personal growth. We've talked about viewing others with empathy, compassion, respect, and seeking out experiences, loving others. Is there anything else on your mind that you want to talk about? Any stone we've left unturned?
I don't know.
Hence the stone on his shirt.
No. I don't know if I do have anything else. I've enjoyed this. You guys have helped me remember a lot of good thoughts that I feel like have just not been as prevalent on my mind. So good to revisit.
I love that.
I don't think I have anything else.
I hope you know that we feel very inspired. Jake, do I dare speak for both of us when I say that?
Speak for both of us. Speak for those listening as well.
What a beautiful experience today, Matthew. We are privileged to have you on the show. We're so grateful you take the time to share your thoughts and your experiences. And we brought you on here because we feel those are valuable too. And people are listening because they feel that's valuable. So even though you mentioned earlier you don't have qualifications or anything like that, I hope you know everything you said today has been remarkably valuable.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you guys.
Really, to me, to those listening, thank you for coming on. Matthew, my guy.
Love you, dude.
Love you, bro.
Good time.
Thank you.
What a pleasure. What a treat. Thanks for coming on today.
Always.
Tune in next time for more wonderful conversations here on the Conversation Station.
Enjoyed the Conversation Station? Hit like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Conversation Station Pod for more updates. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Keep the conversation going. See you next time.